Lycans and gentlemen, we thank you for waiting. And now let the games begin. Let's see what you do. Ethan Winters.
Hello everybody and welcome to PlayStation Access. I am Ash and today I'm joined by Rosie.
Rosie, yes.
Yes, it's me and it's Rosie and we're here to talk all the things that we love about Resident Evil Village because we've been playing it and we've been loving it. It's just really good, isn't it, Rosie?
Hello everyone, and yes, I have just been having an absolute blast with it.
It's such a treat, and we're going to give you 8 reasons why it is such a treat. And do not fear, because this isn't going to be particularly spoiler heavy at all. It's going to focus on the first kind of areas of the game, so the village and the castle. So footage-wise, you're not going to see anything too crazy, and we're not going to spoil you for anything. So rest easy, my friends. Let us begin. Number 1, just to dive straight on in, is the atmosphere and environment because there's just no way you can talk about anything other than the atmosphere and environment to begin with. It is so thick and heavy and beautiful, and just as soon as you load up this game, you're in it, you're there, you're in Resident Evil Village world. Like, it's immersive as hell. I know you love it, Rosie. Tell me why you love it.
Oh, I just love it because, I mean, like you said, every single little detail they've put into the world just, amplifies the whole environment. Like, as you're walking around areas, the pictures on all the walls, the way that the paint on the walls is all kind of like, it's there, but it's kind of scratched off a little bit as well. The way that the wood is placed on the buildings. Like, honestly, when I was in the village area, I spent a good hour just literally walking around, just looking at everything, looking at how the buildings look and how the trees and but like the wintry branches kind of just blend into the world, and it genuinely really does make you feel as if you're visiting a little village, like this tiny little village, and it's so beautiful and everything to look at. Not even the village as well, but also the castle. Like, I love the paintings and the images they use for like the decoration in this game, but like the paintings and everything in the castle, you're just looking at it and I'm just thinking, yeah, I am in a high-end castle. Oh, I bet that painting cost a lot of money. And just the colours used and the gold sort of decorations on all the walls and everything. It's so beautiful. And to go from like a freezing cold white wood-feeling village to this upper-class gold-rich castle, but the environment works, like both environments work so well, and you get just fully absorbed in all of the different environments. It's just so good.
They have made it so everything is so different from each other and kind of like contrasts with this rundown village that's kind of all broken and horrible, and then you go into this lovely opulent castle with gold everywhere, and each feels so distinctly unique and well done. It honestly, when it says it feels like you're there, you really do feel like you're there. Everything ties together so well. Everything is so detailed, and all of the set dressing is just amazing. Like, it's this cold, empty, kind of abandoned, forgotten sort of place that Ethan ends up getting to, and it doesn't feel cold and empty. It's got that resi like fear lingering over it, where you're not sure what's going to pop out next. Yeah. But it's this cold, empty atmosphere, but it's full of everything to go and look at and find. Like, there's corpses on the floor, there's goats' heads hanging from the trees, there's tiny little like figures and speckles of blood on everything. Like, there's rooms in the castle you can open up and that are full of wine or blood, perhaps, that like have seeped up from the floor, and it's just so rich and detailed and beautiful. And for a horror game where you're supposed to be wanting to look away or be afraid, it absolutely just entices you to go, actually no, I'm just going to spend a minute here and just take a look at this.
Just look at this ripped up cushion in this little house in the village, because that pattern on the cushion is just making me feel as if I'm in this village.
Yeah, man, I spent ages looking at that cushion. I was like, wow, that's really textured, that cushion. But I think that kind of leads us naturally into point 2, which kind of ties into the whole immersive nature of Resident Evil Village, which is the sound design. And Rosie, I know you are all about this sound design, so it was like the first thing you said. You were like, the sound.
Oh,
so
the
please,
sound. Like, it was the first.
Tell me.
It's the first thing that because obviously at the beginning of the game, you're not immediately chucked into the village. Like, Ethan has to walk there, and that was just being in an area that is just, because there's not visually always a lot to look at. There's a lot of moments in the game when you're in really dark areas, or there's like there's things around, but you're kind of being cautious and the rooms are a bit more open. But it's the sound design it completely absorbs you, and it makes everything so much more intense and atmospheric. And I mean, I was looking forward to the sound design anyway, because in recent Resident Evil games, like such as Resident Evil 2 Remake, I think the sound design has been absolutely superb. I've praised it to the moon and back on the channel before, and with Resident Evil Village, like just moments where if you just stand in the village, you can hear just the world just going by. You hear crows, you hear the wind as Ethan makes his footsteps, you hear snow, and you go just branches crackling in the trees, and like you said with the goat's head earlier, like you hear swaying or just something creaking, as if when you're exploring these abandoned areas, and then suddenly you just hear a bit of wood creak, and you're just wondering like, why is that? What's going on? And when the lycans come in, you can really pinpoint where they're going to be just from listening alone. Yeah. It's just absolutely stunning. Honestly, if you have a pair of headphones, I recommend please just for one moment just plug them in and just listen. Just stand there and just listen to everything, because it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it all just has its own noise, doesn't it? But I think an important part of Village as well is how good it is at all these sounds, and kind of like the muted kind of supportive sort of soundtrack that goes with it. It uses quiet so effectively as well. Like the moments where it does nothing are just as strong as the ones where there is sound, because that tension is built up. Like it really toys with how horror is built and how tension is built and how suspense is seeded with quietness as much as it is sound. And it's just good stuff. It's just lovely. The enemies, like you mentioning with the lycans, like they all kind of have their own noise, so you kind of know what you're dealing with, or if you listen carefully, or you think you know what you're dealing with. And then Resi does its Resi thing, which I know you've brought up in a video, Rosie, about it being unpredictable and kind of offering and throwing all these new things at you.
Yeah.
My favourite sound, I'm sure we'll talk about that later as well, but my favourite sound is Lady Domitresque's fingers on the wall, her little claw fingers going crap. That's not the noise they make at all, but that's the noise I'm going to make for them. So you hear those come in and you're like, oh my god.
Going stars, it's just Lady Dimitrescu going
she's just there going and that's coming down the corridor. And I think that kind of again segues into our next point of number 3, which is the enemies. And I think the designs are just fantastic. I love a weird looking horror monster, and Resi has always offered up the very best ones. And from the first ones you see, like the lycans,
yes, their eyes are gorgeous.
Yes, the glowing eyes when you're in the dark and they pop at you.
But it's also like it's a really good variety as well, because for example, we encounter the lycans, who are the wolf creatures, but you've got then Lady Dimitrescu, who is a giant, elegant lady, and you have her daughters, who are suddenly now more gothic, and they've got insect elements to them. And there's the scene where you see the 4 head of the houses all sort of talking in a meeting, and then you've got Heisenberg, and there's sort of a lady wearing just this black robe with a little doll, and then to contrast it again, you've then got more of a hunchback kind of character, and just the variety just throwing you all over the place of the enemies. It's just completely, it's all over the place, but it's great.
It's like they open the game opens with a story book reading. I'll go into this more later because but the enemy wise, it opens with this storybook reading, and you kind of go in, and it pulls out all of these. They're all very fairy tale characters, like fairy tale baddies that have then had this Resident Evil twist put on them. I think my favourite moment so far, enemy wise, was opening a door to a load of gargoyles, which you absolutely would expect to be there because you're in a creepy gothic vampire infused castle. You'd be like, okay, yeah, some gargoyles, that makes sense. But you open the door and you see them and you're like, that's no gargoyle like I've ever seen. It's just completely like it's a big liquor tongue man. They're just mad and interesting and dare you to look at them for as long as you should actually be fighting them. Moving on from that point with the Resi influence over everything, we've got to go on to number 4. And Rosie, I'm just going to let you just wash this over us because it's recognition of Resi history is what I've written here. And I know you are like deep in this series and can give us the lowdown.
Yeah, oh man, there are so many moments in this game that has just put a beaming smile on my face. So, I mean, from the gameplay trailers and everything that they've revealed over time, a lot of people have been saying like, oh, it feels a lot like Resident Evil 4, which I was very happy about because I've played Resident Evil 4 countless times. It's an incredibly fun game and I love it to pieces. But so, like, for example, we've seen that you've got the inventory case and the weapon upgrades, which are very Resident Evil 4, that you purchase from the Duke, or the Merchant in this game. But there's also, like, tiny little details as well. So, for example, the Merchant, or the Duke, sorry, there's a line when he says, just out of the blue, he'll be like, what are you buying? not in that voice, that's my Merchant voice from Resi 4. But he will say, like, what are you buying? And then he just says, oh, sorry, an old friend of mine used to say that.
What are you buying? Just something an old friend of mine used to say.
And that just put the biggest smile on my face because I thought, oh my god, the Duke and the Merchant, they're friends. They know each other somehow in the Resi universe. And also when you're exploring the world, sometimes you can, if you're keeping an eye out, you see very tiny little twinkling treasures that you can shoot down. Now, Resident Evil 4, they had these as well, but I feel like the twinkling of Resident Evil 4 gems were like quite a bit more twinkling, whereas these ones are so tiny. You really feel rewarded when you spot one. You're like, hang on a minute, and then you shoot it down. And because I went into this game not expecting, to start looking for little twinkling gems just all over the place, but the fact that they've put them in, I was just like, this is so Resident Evil 4 and I love it. But not even Resident Evil 4, just the way that they seem to have taken a lot of elements from Resident Evil of recent years, that people love, and they've just sort of incorporated it into Village. I mean, a big one being Lady Dimitrescu with the whole chasing mechanic, the way she chases you around the castle. This very sort of inspired, I feel, by Mr. X chasing you in Resident Evil 2 Remake, and then Nemesis as well in Resident Evil 3 Remake. And she's
not happy.
Torment you and chase you just the whole time, and it's so good. But it's still also accessible to new Resident Evil fans as well.
Yeah. It has so much of a rewarding nature for fans that have been there since the beginning and know all of these things inside out, but it's still just insanely cool for anyone who doesn't know anything. It's just like, yeah, that's cool, I like that, even without the context of why. And just to hop on from this point to number 5, I would agree that it's Resi 7 in particular, that it kind of takes influence from, obviously, because it's the continuation from Resi 7. It's the next one on from that in Ethan's story. But the way that it kind of ties itself to that narrative and furthers and strengthens it and emboldens it is it's just really nice. It's really well done. It's expanded upon in all of the right ways and still has all of the unique DNA that made that such a standout experience and a standout scary horror experience as well. Resi 7 was I love that game, but this one, I dare say it is my favourite because it's just, I'm having so much fun.
It's really nice knowing that, obviously, like you said, this follows on from Ethan's story, but it's not as if this is a whole new adventure for Ethan. They still remember what happened in Resident Evil 7, they fully acknowledge it, and they've got little references all over the place. For example, there's a bobblehead that you can destroy in Resident Evil 7 as part of a little reward, little treasure thing. And when I saw one of those little bobbleheads in Ethan and Mia's house at the beginning, I was really confused. I was like, do I attack this? But
smash?
I don't smash, but I can't smash. I can only look at it. And just seeing all the tiny details like that, I was just made me very happy to know that, yes, they are following on from Resident Evil 7, but it really does feel as if they're really expanding on the story.
Yeah.
It's okay, Rose. Your mother doesn't want to remember it. I can't blame her.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like the opening is in a kitchen and it's really homely. Mia's cooking up some lovely stew-looking thing. It's in a big pot, and she literally says what it is, and I've forgotten. But she's in a kitchen cooking up this delicious meal. It's warm, it's homely, it's just really lovely, and it instantly throws up that contrast to the Resi 7, like sitting at the table with the Baker family, being like, "Oh my god, this is horrible and disgusting," and it just kind of shows like it instantly shows without telling like the evolution of Ethan's story. And that leads us on to point number 6, which is the nods to like horror movies and horror in general. This is so steeped in appreciation for the genre in all of the best, most fun ways. It's so faithful to its own legacy, as well as incorporating all the things that make it so fun over the years as well. Like where Resi 7 was a big like Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of vibe, this has like Blair Witch when you're running through the woods. It's got like the classic older movies with Wolfman and Dracula and Van Helsing from these classic European folklore tales that are woven through everything, even towards like the non-horror side, or depending on how you view a grim fairy tale. It's got stuff like Sleeping Beauty and Hansel and Gretel, which are all kind of referenced and seeded throughout to really give it that grounded horror experience that's so like folk horror, just so specific. It's gothic, it's beautiful, it appeals to all of my sensibilities. I love it very much.
I think that's the thing as well, like when we were talking about the environment and atmosphere as well, the way that it can literally chuck you into these different horrors literally back to back, but it never feels as if it all just feels so natural, like it's all part of the world. How they've managed to put all of these horrors in the same universe and it works so well, like it's an absolute joy.
Rest while you can, because I will hunt you and I will break you.
And another thing that is just so good in this game are the puzzles. The puzzles are really fun and challenging, and there's just such a lovely variety in making you think in different ways, and they're just as good as ever, really.
Yeah, absolutely. That's number 7. Puzzles are just rad. That's it. Like that's
I
it.
forgot to say number 7.
Yeah, no, they're just great though. Like I literally we've got like a little running order and I've just put puzzles good. Like they're just really good. They're always good. Resi knows how to do a good puzzle. But not to labour on that too much because half the fun is figuring them out yourself. Number 8, to finish it all off and have our Resident Evil number 8, is we've been playing on the PS5, so we've kind of got to pay we've got to pay a little bit of love to the PS5 features. And Rosie, I know you've been loving the adaptive triggers.
Yeah, the adaptive triggers, honestly, they've made me play in a way I've never felt before, in a weird way. So whereas before, for example, like if I'm playing Resident Evil Remake 2, let's say I'm in a panic and I've got my shotgun, I can just quickly whack it out, wha-bam, get some, shoot Mr. X in the face, shoot some zombies, and then I just, carry on with my jolly way. But in Resident Evil Village, everything has a weight to it, and you genuinely really feel that in the DualSense, like the adaptive triggers. Whereas, let's say for example, you've got a hand knife and your first handgun, you use the triggers and they're, as you like, just whack them out quick, bang, 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 absolutely fine. But it's not until you get the shotgun that you can really feel the difference. The shotgun, you get it out, but to aim with it, you really feel like the tension of and the weight of the shotgun. And then when it comes to actually firing it, it really does have resistance to it. And it's, when I say it's changed how I play, it's become a case of, I'm not just being Leon Kennedy in Resi Remake 2 going like do wha-bam and I'm done. I'm in a panic, like I have to whack out my shotgun, but it's not just a case of wha-bam, I have to full on get the shotgun ready to go. Like I'm doing it with the voice because you really feel the panic and like the feeling of I'm like moving my arms at the moment to replicate the shotgun.
I can see it. I can feel it in my just in my mind. I can imagine you loading your shotgun, like doing the action.
Like it's mad, and it's the same as what with the sniper rifle and everything. Everything just has a different feel to it, and it just feels right for the weapon you're using. But because of that, it means that when you are in intense situations, it makes it feel so much more like alive in a weird way. It's awesome. I love it.
It is. I was going to say a sight to behold, but it's a wait to be held instead. It's just, it's fantastically well done. All of this goes together to make such an immersive experience. Like, it is scary, it is tense, it is beautiful. It's so nice to look at. The ray tracing is gorgeous. Like when the sun's coming through on the dappled roof of a broken down shed. Oh, love it. It's just, it's so well put together. And like breaking all of this down is fun because you think about all the different things in how they kind of work together. But when they're all in tandem and you are playing Resident Evil Village, you don't even think about it because you're there, you're in the village. It's scary. You're having jump scares, you're having normal scares, you're having all sorts of horrors. And it's fantastic. And we love it very much.
100% agree.
It is. And that's going to be the end of the video. We've given you 8 points for Resident Evil 8. And yeah, we love it. We love it so, so much. Let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for some more lovely PlayStation goodness. I've been Ash. This has been Rosie.
Bye all.
And thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye.
PlayStation